Should the Saints add former Pro Bowl wide receiver JuJu Smith-Schuster to their roster for the 2024 season? We'll talk about it right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosevoglu. And as always, if you guys enjoy our content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Boot Crew Media's YouTube channel. We would greatly appreciate it. The Straight Up Saints podcast is presented by Standard Mortgage, your local lender for life. To get in touch with a home loan expert today, give them a call at 504-569-3902. And speaking of Standard Mortgage, that's going to get us to our tweet of the week, which is presented by Standard Mortgage. And I asked on Twitter this week, if healthy, should the Saints take a look at JuJu Smith-Schuster? I know where I stand on this, but I'm curious to hear what other Saints fans think. Obviously, JuJu Smith-Schuster is a very, very polarizing wide receiver. Comes into the league, second year with the Steelers, has 1,400 receiving yards. Really looks like he's going to just burst onto the scene and be part of that next generation of great wide receivers. And ever since, there's been some good years for JuJu, but he hasn't been able to find a way to get back to that level. And in 2022, when he signed with the Chiefs, he was able to be in a system where he wasn't the top guy, right? It was, of course, Travis Kelce, but he was technically their number one wide receiver on the depth chart, and he played pretty well. Chiefs ended up winning a Super Bowl with him, and he goes to New England. And New England, they thought they were getting a dynamic weapon who could fix their passing game. Instead, they cut him after one season. And that is a receiving room that needs talent. Like, they're deprived of offensive talent. And they said, you know what? We don't need JuJu. We're going to get rid of him. Part of it is health. His knee's been acting up. He's just not the same player he was when he first entered the league. The other part is he was kind of overpaid. So now we get to a situation where JuJu's 27 years old. He is not going to cost any money. If the Saints are going to go after him, it would not cost any money. And the Saints have a pretty overrated receiving core if I look at the fan base's reaction, and I'll explain why. So we know what we got in Olave and Shaheed, right? Olave is a good player who has a chance to turn himself into a great player this year, and Shaheed is a really fun player who has a chance to cement his status as a good player this year. I love both those wide receivers. I think they're going to play well this year. I'm not worried about Olave. I'm not worried about Shaheed. I think those are two guys that can really be explosive playmakers for the Saints. My worry is everything after that. I think A.T. Perry could be a good receiver because he plays well in games, plays well in the preseason. And yeah, he's not great in practice, and Dennis Allen's let him know that. But every time it matters, when the lights are bright, he steps up. And I love that about him. So let's say I add A.T. Perry into the mix. Those are three wide receivers I trust. The Saints then have Cedric Wilson, Equanimeous St. Brown, Mason Tipton, Bub Means. I don't think Bub Means is going to make the roster. I think Cedric Wilson's going to make the roster. So that'd be 4. So number 5, is it Mason Tipton? Maybe. Is it Equanimeous St. Brown? Possibly. Do you go out and sign JuJu Smith-Schuster? It is such an interesting conversation and question worth asking because it's not as simple as adding JuJu, adding to the slot, improving that part of your offensive passing attack, and saying that he's going to be great. Because A, there are injury concerns, and B, there is the personality that you have to find a way to see if that's going to mesh with the rest of your team. JuJu is not a bad guy. I've spoken to JuJu. I think he's very entertaining. I really do think that he's an enjoyable personality, but it's enjoyable when you're winning. And I think with the Saints, especially with the tough schedule early on, if he comes in and he's not making much of an impact and you're still getting the personality to him, it could rub some players the wrong way. It could frustrate some guys, and that part concerns me. That said, there's the other aspect of this where the Saints are in a position you only trust 2 of your wide receivers. You hope A.T. Perry can play better. You hope Cedric Wilson can be a decent vet for you. And let's say you put Mason Tipton on the roster. You hope that all the success he had in training camp was just a start of him continuing to get better each and every week of practice, each and every rep. But those aren't guarantees. Whereas JuJu, yes, coming off an abysmal year, a really abysmal year with the Patriots, is still just 27 years old. You know he's a season removed from being part of a Super Bowl caliber team and knowing what it takes to win a Super Bowl. And that part is a plus. However, it can also work against him. You can look at it and say, all right, when you're on the Chiefs, everyone's got that one goal. We're going for the Super Bowl. And if you're not on the same page with us, we will cut you very fast. Whereas the Saints, look, you guys know I love the Saints dearly. I don't think the Saints are a Super Bowl team this year. And yeah, of course, the players are going to think Super Bowl because that's what you strive for. But no one expects them to make it there. I would be stunned if the Saints made it to the Super Bowl. So they're not really in that tier. And it's easy to take your foot off the gas and potentially slack if things go wrong. And it's such a fascinating thing. The easiest thing would to say, get a wide receiver who you know can be productive, but isn't going to be a problem in the locker room. And it doesn't mean Juju is a problem. The personality, though, works when you're winning. And I keep going back and forth in it because I've always been pro talent. Adding talent in the NFL is the priority for every team. And unfortunately, it's almost to a detriment sometimes because we've seen it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're good. Juju hasn't done anything egregiously wrong. He just hasn't. Juju has been a loud personality, but he hasn't done anything wrong. For the Saints, are they willing to put up with that? If the answer is yes, great. I'd say bring him in. If you're willing to put up with him, bring him in for a physical, see where he's at, because I think the Saints have good speed and good twitchiness with Olave and Shaheed. They don't have a physical wide receiver yet that you can trust. I think A.T. Perry is fun, but I wouldn't categorize him as this physical beast who's going to make those catches in traffic. He could get there. He could absolutely get there. He's got a good frame. Juju, though, is known for being in the slot, taking the tough hits. So that's where I'll leave you at. If the Saints are willing to look at the physical, willing to put up with the personality, and they know what they're getting themselves into, take a chance because this wide receiver room is not as good as people think. I posted this question, like I said, it's the tweet of the week. And some people, and no knock on them, if this is how you feel, I wish I had your confidence about this room, love the wide receiver room and feel like it's one of the better young groups and want to see it grow. And if you feel that way, all power to you. I wish I could feel that way because I want to be super confident in this group. But I'm super confident in two guys, somewhat confident in a third, and then that's it. So I think they can add talent. I wouldn't mind them bringing in Juju. Do I think it would work? That's a story for another day. And I'd probably say it probably wouldn't work. But you are taking a chance on talent who's only 27 years old. And if it doesn't work, best part about it, it'd be 1 year. You can cut him on the spot and you wouldn't lose sleep over whether or not that hurts your cap situation. So that is a pro to me. And another reason why I think it's worth taking a shot on him. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Would you like to see the Saints take a shot on JuJu Smith-Schuster? If no, let me know. If yes, also let me know why. I'd love to see what you guys have to say about him. He's such a fascinating receiver. I mean, 2022, that season ends, and I thought Juju was back on track. And then this past season happened, and I went, oh, shit. Like, he's not on track, clearly. Too many ups, too many downs. Got to find some type of way to stabilize it. But he wouldn't be the 1 or the 2 on the Saints. He'd probably be the 3 at best, maybe even the 4. And in that role, if he's working with the team, it's not the worst thing in the world. But like I said, guys, let me know what you think. Comment below, and we'll be back with more content here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for